This is lesson 13.6, graphing inequalities in the plane. Okay, so in this picture here, we are given a picture of three different graphs. And what I want you to notice, what you need to know about the graph is that it's called a plane. That is because we have the X and Y coordinates running infinitely off of this page. So this line is dividing this plane into two parts. And same with this on this graph, this line on this graph, and on the third graph, we've got a line dividing the plane into two parts. And we call this a half plane. A half plane is when any line divides the plane in two. The line serves as a boundary of both half planes. So we are going to begin graphing inequalities. We have an equation 2x minus 3y is less than 6. The first step is to set up your table of values, just like we did in problems before in the previous lesson. So we want to substitute, we start with the value of 0 for x. If we substitute 0 for x, we have 2 times 0 cancels out. Negative 3 divided by 6 is negative 2. So when x is 0, y will be negative 2. We need one more value, and let's go ahead and substitute the value of 0 for y. So 2x minus 3 times 0 is less than 6. This cancels because it becomes 0. I divide 2 by both sides, and then x will be less than 3. So when y is 0, x is 3. I have enough points that I can now graph. Okay. There are some important things you need to keep in mind when you're graphing an inequality equation. So one is you need to pay attention to your inequality sign. If you have an inequality sign that is less than or greater than, it is going to be an open circle, just like our previous chapter. If you have this less than or greater than sign, you're also going to have a dotted line that connects your points. Okay, so let's graph this. We have x, when x is 0, open, and 3 and 0, that's open. Okay, now I need to draw a dotted line that extends from one end of this graph to the other, going through the points. You want to use your ruler to make a nice straight line. Okay, so we're not done with this problem, with this inequality yet. The third step would be to test our inequality equation. And we do that by choosing any point that is not on this line. The easiest point to choose will be one that is will be the origin. So let's test the origin, test the inequality by using 0 and 0. So if I add 0 for x and then 0 for y, let's see if this inequality statement is true. This is now 0 minus 0 is less than 6. So yes, this is a true statement. This means that any point on this side of the half plane will make a true statement. So what you're going to do is color in this side of the half plane, and this will be your answer for your graph. Okay, so remember the main points. You need to set up your table of values to get your your coordinates. Then you need to graph it, paying attention to the inequality sign. If it is less than or equal to, you need to have an open circle. Also, you need to have a dotted line. Then you need to test your inequality statement to see if it's true. The easiest way to test it is using the points on the origin, which is 0, 0. Let's try another problem. So it says we need to graph the inequality 3x plus 4y is less than or equal to negative 12. My first step is to set up my table of values. I'm going to start with x being 0. So 3 times 0 plus 4y is less than or equal to negative 12. This cancels and becomes 0. Divide both sides by 4, and this becomes negative 3. So when x is 0, y is negative 3. We need to find one more value, one more ordered pair. So let's put 0 in for y. So 3x plus 4 times 0 is less than or equal to negative 12. This cancels and becomes 0. I divide both sides by 3, and x is less than or equal to negative 4. So when y is 0, x is less than or equal to negative 4. Step 2, we need to graph. You first need to look at your inequality symbol. When your inequality symbol is less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to, you are going to have a closed circle. On top of that, you are going to have a straight line. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this. My first point is 0, negative 3, 1, 2, 3. I have a closed circle. And then x, negative 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And my y is 0. Okay, now I'm going to have a straight line that goes through these points. Please use your ruler to draw a straight line. Okay, now I'm not done. My next step is to test. Test the inequality. So I need to see that this is a true statement. I'm going to put in the value of the origin into my x and y to see if this is a true statement. So 3 times 0 plus 4 times 0 is less than or equal to negative 12. So this would be 0 plus 0 is less than or equal to negative 12. This is not a true statement. This isn't true because negative 12 is less than 0. So I used this point here, my origin, to test my inequality statement, and this isn't true. So that means any of these points here will not work to make my statement true. That means any of these points on this side of the line will make a true statement, and I need to shade in this side of my line. So any of these points on this side of the line, including the points on my line, will make a true statement. I need to bring up one more thing. Now, going back to the first example, all of these points on this side of the line will make a true statement. But this dotted line also means that you cannot use the points on this line. It will not make a true statement. Only the values, only the points on this side of the dotted line. But when you have a straight line, any of the points on this straight line will make the inequality statement true. Let's graph this inequality. X plus 4 is less than 0. What do you guys know by now when you have one intercept? So I hope you can remember that you're going to have a straight line and that you're going to solve for that intercept. So we can go ahead and solve. X plus 4 is less than 0. We subtract 4 from both sides. So x is less than negative 4. This was my first step, is to solve. Now I'm going to graph. Okay, I have one intercept, that is my x, so I am going to find negative 4. And before I even do that, I need to consider my inequality symbol, okay? What is my inequality symbol? Because of my inequality symbol, what type of circle do I have? You should say you have an open circle. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have an open circle. And my line is dotted. So I have a dotted line and an open circle. So I'm going to have this dotted line that goes straight through. Okay, now I'm still not done because I need to shade 1/2 of this plane. So in order to do that, I need to run a test. And I'm going to test my inequality with 0. I'm going to put in the value of 0 for x. So 0 is less than negative 4. Is this a true statement? This is not a true statement. Okay, so I'm using this 0 from the origin and I put it in to test, and my answer is that it's not a true statement. So that means that all of the points on the left side of this dotted line, they would all make a true statement. So I would shade in this side of my dotted line. So any of these points would make a true statement. Let's look at example 4. Graph the inequality. Negative 2y minus 5x is less than 0. I first set up a table of values, x and y, and when x is 0, 2y minus 5 times 0 is less than or equal to 0. So I have 2y, this cancels, is greater than or equal to 0. I divide both sides by 2. Y is greater than or equal to 0 over 2. And that means that y is 0. Okay, this is an undefined line, right? So I need to find one more point. Remember the crisscross method. I am going to substitute the value of 2 in for x. So when x is 2, let's figure out what y will be. So 2y minus 5 times 2 is greater than or equal to 0. This is 2y minus 10 is greater than or equal to 0. I add 10 to both sides. And I get y is greater than or equal to 5. Okay, so now I graph. I first look at my inequality symbol. It is greater than or equal to, so I'm going to have a closed circle. And then my line is going to be straight because it is greater than or equal to. So let's graph my points. This is 0, 0, and x is 2, and y is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My line is going to be straight. You want to cut straight through your graph using your ruler. And now it's time to test. I typically use the origin to test to see if my inequality statement is true. But I can't use my origin because 0, 0 is part of one of the points that I used for my line. So I can't use 0, 0. Your next best bet will be to use 1, 1. Okay, so we're going to use the value of 1 and 1 for x and y. So 2 times 1 minus 5 times 1 is greater than or equal to 0. 2 minus 5 is greater than or equal to 0. And then we have negative 3 is greater than or equal to 0. This is not a true statement. Okay, this is not true. So that means all of the points on this side of the line, including the points on this straight line, would make the statement true. So I'm going to shade in this half plane of my graph. Okay, so I have a final slide to remind you of the rules. Number 1, graph the boundary line. Change the inequality sign for an equal sign. I actually didn't do this in my problems when I solved it, so just had it going back. I kept all of my inequality signs. If it helps you, you can turn this into an equal sign instead. But I didn't do it because I didn't want you to forget to include it with how to graph your answer. But you may do it if it helps. The boundary line is solid when you have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to symbol. The boundary line is dashed when you have a less than or greater than symbol. Number 2, you want to select and shade the correct half plane. Choose a test point. Usually you want to start with your origin 0, 0. That you have to start with a value or an ordered pair that is not on the boundary line and substitute its coordinates into the inequality. If the resulting inequality is true, the solution in the half plane containing the test point will be shaded. If the resulting inequality is false, the solution is the half plane that is not containing the test point, and you'll shade the other half. Okay, good luck on your homework and let me know how I can help you.